One of the things I get asked about is how do you scale agility? So not specifically addressing, uh, you know, agile as in agile software development or as in Scrum or Safe or these specific implementations of agile, but what about scaling agility? This ability to be aware of changes in the environment and then taking action uh, based upon new information. And so there's three things that I think about when I'm thinking about how to structure an organization. And the first is that I want to know the journey. I want to understand the journey that my stakeholder goes through. So if you're a nonprofit, that could be the people that you're serving as well as your funders. If you're a company, then it's your customers, but it could include others, maybe your employees, or there's in healthcare you've got payers and regulators and these different bodies that are stakeholders in your product or your company. Or if it could be government, and you're thinking about your constituents, both those that like you and those that don't. And so I want to think about the whole journey, and I want to structure my teams around the whole journey. I don't want to arbitrarily split them up based upon the function, based upon the type of task that somebody is doing. I want to be able to hold the whole context of the customer journey from them first becoming aware of a product all the way to becoming passionate about it. So the second thing is that what I want to do is divide up the desired outcomes into missions. And so if I think about here's where we're trying to get this year or next year or 2 or 3 years or even 5 years down the road, I have a bunch of missions that I can come up with that if all of these missions were accomplished, we would achieve our desired outcomes. And so the third component is who do I put on these teams? And so I'm going to think about what is the level of uncertainty that these missions entail. And so if on the very simple end, if there's very low uncertainty, we know exactly what we must do in order to execute this particular mission, which could be, you know, producing the product or producing a subset of the product. We know the skills involved. We know how to do it. We've done it a bunch of times before. Well, so that's a team of people that know how to execute that particular job to achieve their type of mission. It doesn't require a lot of cross-functional people. It doesn't require a bunch of different disciplines. If it's engineering, it could be different types of engineers, different skill levels, that sort of thing. But I should be able to, it's a very execution-focused mission, and so it's a very execution-focused team. If I'm looking out into the future, or we're tackling a new market, or there's a pandemic, and so suddenly there's things that are uncertain, then that team is a little bit more difficult to put together because I need some of that interdisciplinary nature, that cross-functional nature, because I don't know what the solution is. And so you want to think about those missions along this continuum of low uncertainty to high uncertainty. And you can stretch those missions and then thereby those teams out from near-term impact to far-term impact. In other words, innovation. And so those are the three main things I'm going to look at when I'm structuring my organization. And this is not dividing up the company into execution and innovation. This is dividing up the company into this customer journey based upon solving their needs over these time horizons. And I think what you're going to get out of that is a lot of collaboration, a lot of learning from each other, a lot of people that are able to hold this larger context that's going to create more value for customers for a longer period of time.